degree, first degree, premeditated murder, capital punishment.
We're going to stand by ours regardless. This is about race. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't give a damn.
Wow, those were the chaotic scenes outside of a Texas courthouse this week during the murder trial of Karmelo Anthony. Hello, everyone. This is the second hour of the big weekend show. It is day 3 of the trial of Karmelo Anthony, and he's accused of first-degree murder for the deadly stabbing of fellow 17-year-old high school student Austin Metcalf. Now, the alleged murder occurred at a Texas high school track meet back in 2025. The defense team claims Anthony acted in self-defense, while the state rested its case just moments ago after calling 21 witnesses. We have team coverage with former NYPD Inspector and Attorney Paul Mauro standing by. But first, we go to Brooke Taylor live outside of that courthouse in McKinney, Texas. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Tommy. Yeah, at the center of the prosecution's case right now are these students that were under the tent. They saw the stabbing and the moments leading up to it. More than 10 of these students and teammates testified in court yesterday and today. Now, many told jurors that they thought it was unusual that Karmelo Anthony, who went to a different school, was under their team's tent. The defense said that Anthony was sheltering from the rain and recognized someone there. Students testified that Austin Metcalf repeatedly asked Anthony to leave. Several recalled Anthony responding, "Touch me and find out." Now, jurors also heard that Metcalf made the first physical contact, but witnesses described it as minor. One called it a soft touch, another described it as a little push. They testified that moments later, Anthony pulled out a 5-inch folding knife from his backpack and stabbed Metcalf in the chest. The defense argues Anthony acted out of self-defense and fear. Now, one of the key witnesses today was a 17-year-old teammate of Metcalf's who was under the tent. He testified that Metcalf tried to avoid a fight, telling Anthony, quote, "Dude, I'm not going to fight you at a track meet." Now, jurors also heard from an 18-year-old witness today. This is important testimony because he knew both Anthony and Metcalf, and he was the student who Anthony was apparently saying hi to. He testified when Austin asked him to leave, quote, "Karmelo said, 'You'll have to move me.' Austin put his hand on his back. I saw Karmelo's hand go in the backpack. We're at a track meet. I wouldn't expect anything to be in there," Karmelo said. "Touch me, you'll have to move me and find out," trying to provoke him. Then what happens, the prosecutor asked. He said Austin puts his hand on him and falls back. How was Austin trying to move him, the prosecutor asked. He responded it was him trying to move him off his seat, a soft shove. The prosecutor then said, "What did Austin do?" The witness replied, "I see the hole in his chest and blood." He starts screaming for help. Now, the state's last witness was a medical examiner. The prosecution showed 4 pictures of Metcalf. His family stepped outside the courtroom so that they didn't have to see that. Meanwhile, if convicted of murder, Anthony faces up to life behind bars. Tommy.
Brooke Taylor, thank you so much. Joining us now in studio to break down the latest developments in this trial is former NYPD Inspector and Attorney, our favorite, Paul Mauro. Paul, I could talk to you about this all day, but I'm very excited to get your take on this. They got 21 witnesses. Right. You've got these witnesses we just heard from Brooke Taylor saying that if Austin Metcalf touched him, it was a soft shove saying, "Hey, get out of our tent." Then you have, of course, the stabbing that led to the death of Austin Metcalf. How do you break this down? And second question, how does race play into this? Because the folks outside really want to make this about race. I'm not so sure that factors in legally, though.
No, legally, of course, race shouldn't factor into it, but let's be honest, it's going to be a factor if anybody is so inclined in the jury to listen to people that are trying to foment that attitude outside the courtroom, and if they can hear the noise. We've seen that so often here in Lower Manhattan, and to ignore it is naive. Let's review the facts as we know them, right? Not the testimony, the facts. Number one, Karmelo Anthony is in the opposing team's tent for no good reason. Number two, he's armed with a knife. All right, those are not in dispute. Those are facts. Then we get the testimony. He's there. He's asked to leave. He doesn't want to leave. He says, "Touch me, you'll find out." According to the testimony, then Austin Metcalf puts a hand on him, gently shoves him, and then he reacts, reaches in, pulls out this knife. Why he had a knife at a track meet is going to be a big issue, I'm sure, going forward as we get to the defense and then, of course, the closing arguments. The action in this is going to come down to two areas. Number one, under Texas law, you can't provoke an incident and then claim self-defense. That's why I went into that recounting of the facts. He's in the tent, and then he won't leave, even after being asked numerous times. And he's from the opposing team, and supposedly they are strategizing how they're going to run the track meet, and so they want him out of the tent. And then the other thing is that your response, if you are threatened with force in Texas, is that your response has to be, quote unquote, reasonable. Even under the opening argument that his attorney made, which articulates the idea that Metcalf and his brother had sort of surrounded Karmelo, that doesn't, to me, rise to the level of pulling a knife and sticking it in somebody's chest. So I am hard-pressed here to see where they're going to go. They must have some really, really compelling witnesses on the defense side, because as of now, I don't see why they even went to trial.
Wow.
Paul, I find this case sad and disturbing, but also fascinating, because I have, you know, if you've ever been in the state of Texas, at least until recently, I know constitutional carry is a different thing, but to get your carry license, you have to take classes on what the self-defense laws are in the state of Texas. I think every state should do it, but I think it's really educational. And you learn the Castle Doctrine. You learn why Texas is viewed as a state that allows you to defend yourself in situations even other states don't. Sure. But there are certain things that are consistent that you have to fear for your life, or you know, and there's, you know, the opportunity to, or your property. So I want to, you know, take all subjectivity out of this and look at this and say, okay, if I want Karmelo Anthony to get off on this charge, if I want to put myself in his shoes and make myself believe that he was justified under this more loose stand your ground law in Texas, I don't know how you get there. How does the defense get there?
You know, to me, it's going to be a pretty steep climb. I think what you likely will have to get from them is some sort of articulation that he was in genuine fear for his life.
Exactly.
Because he had to reach for a knife, that's bad enough, but then he stabs Austin in the heart, right in the chest. I mean, you know, any 5-year-old knows that's likely going to be fatal. Now, there is reporting from the police report that Karmelo's response was, he's not going to die. One of the cops says to him, you know, if he dies, your life has changed significantly, kid. And he says he's not going to die. He was actually kind of casual about it. I don't think he quite realized what he did. So maybe he's going to say, hey, look, I didn't mean to kill him. It's going to be some sort of intent issue here. But he also made other statements that I think are going to cut against him. Like, for instance, he didn't say he threatened my life. I was terrified. He said he put his hands on me. Yeah. That's all he said. That's not much of an articulation of fear.
Does that rate premeditation? If he says, touch me and you'll see what happens?
You know, in this, you know, premeditation is much debated in law. Like, there are instances where people say it can be literally a second or two. But in this case, it really doesn't matter. The way Texas law is constructed, you have capital murder. That is, if you are going to be put on death row. And that has a specific set of circumstances that are not present here. Killing a witness, multiple victims, killing a cop. Same thing in New York. But furthermore, he was 17 at the time of the crime. Even if he did qualify for the death penalty under the Supreme Court decision, he doesn't get it. So the most he's looking at is 99 years.
Paul, I want to ask you about the jury selection process. There was a report last week that there were 3 black jurors who were removed by the prosecution, and the defense objected to that, claiming that it was racially motivated. However, the prosecution came back and said, no, it was because they were teachers. And at least one of them was on record, apparently, saying that he would have had a very difficult time voting to convict because Karmelo looked like just a kid. Give us your read on that.
Yeah, so you knew in this case, as we've seen in so many cases, that there was going to be a lot of scrutiny on the jurors, right? And in this case, you're 100% right. They had 3 female black teachers who were the only African Americans, apparently, in the jury pool that made it to that point. The prosecution used their exemption right to eliminate those 3. The defense objected. The judge sided with the prosecution. But you're 100% right to focus on that. Why? Because that is almost certainly going to be an area of appeal. And, you know, I've seen it speculated online. I don't know that they would be this cute by half, because you're playing with a young man's life here. But I've seen speculation where people have said things like, did the defense game that out, knowing that they would like, because what the prosecution used to get rid of those 3 was not, well, they're black, you can't do that, you can't do it on the basis of race. They did it saying they're teachers, and this was a student, and for the reasons that you said, they'd have a hard time being objective. That carried the day. So is it possible that they're actually playing for that appeal? I'd be very surprised. I think that, as I said, that's too cute by half. But nonetheless, that is going to be an issue. The jury selection in this thing, of course, was crucial. I don't know the rest of the composition of the jury, but I do know that there are no other African Americans.
Well, I keep going back to the why question in terms of why would somebody bring a knife to a track meet in broad daylight. It reminds me of a certain parallel to a certain extent. Alex Preddy up in Minneapolis, where why would you bring a gun to an ice staging area when you provoked ice in the past and expect that something bad could not happen? So will that be coming into play as well in terms of why, not premeditated so much, but why have a knife on you in the first place where you're not going out at night somewhere in a dangerous area? You're in Frisco, Texas, which is a very affluent town, one of the fastest growing cities in the country. The why keeps coming back to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's going to go to the idea that, first of all, he was in violation of the school rules themselves. The school apparently has a very strict rule about bringing any weapons onto school grounds. So he did that at the opposing school, and then he brings that weapon into the tent. And I think that's going to go very strongly when the prosecutor buttons up his argument at closing that, look, he has this knife on him, he's not supposed to have it. He goes across to the opposing team's tent, sits himself down, and won't leave even after multiple witnesses have now said he was told to leave. So, as I was saying here to Joey, the idea here that they're going to somehow or other conjure some circumstances where the stabbing to the chest under those circumstances is going to be somehow considered reasonable really feels like a steep climb to me. They must really have something loaded up. But you know what? There's a larger why. And that's the part that I think that Joey was talking about the whole thing being sad, too. This kid, Karmelo, had never been in trouble. He was a good student. Apparently, he had, worked out, so, he was a winner. And, why take the knife? Why go look in? Because from where I sit, the whole thing was pointless. It does feel like a provocation. It's the last thing this kid needed as he's ending his school years and going on.
So Karmelo's character matters here, then?
It feels that way.
Sure. Okay.
Maybe at least in sentencing. All right.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.